Captain Jiwon Park stared at the empty coffee cup floating beside her command chair and wondered when everything had started going wrong. The cargo ship Steel Phoenix drifted through space toward the mining colony on Kepler 442b, carrying supplies that 3,000 colonists desperately needed. Jiwon had made this run dozens of times before, always welcomed by busy miners eager for news from other worlds and fresh food from the agricultural planets. The distress beacon had started broadcasting 2 days ago, a simple automated signal that meant equipment failure or maybe a bad storm. Nothing unusual for a frontier mining world. Jiwon expected to find broken machinery and frustrated colonists, not the complete silence that greeted them as they approached the planet. "Captain, I'm not getting any response from ground control," said Communications Officer Do-hyun Lee. His young face creased with worry. "The beacon is still broadcasting, but nobody is answering our calls." Jiwon nodded and activated the ship's long-range scanners. The colony appeared normal on the screens, all buildings intact and power systems running. The massive mining equipment sat idle in the open pit mines, but that could mean anything. Equipment broke down constantly on frontier worlds. "Take us down to the main landing pad," Jiwon ordered. "Full sensor sweep as we descend." The Steel Phoenix descended through the thin atmosphere, its engines humming steadily. Below them, the colony looked peaceful in the pale light of the system's twin suns. Prefabricated buildings stretched across the valley floor, connected by covered walkways that protected against the planet's harsh weather. Everything seemed normal except for the complete absence of people. They landed with a soft thud, and Jiwon gathered her crew of 6 for the short walk to the colony's administrative center. Security Officer Min-soo Kang checked his weapon and activated his body armor, more out of habit than any real expectation of danger. In 30 years of spaceflight, Jiwon had never encountered anything more threatening than angry creditors and broken life support systems. The colony's main street stretched before them, lined with shops and cafeterias that should have been busy, with miners finishing their shifts. Instead, empty doorways stared back at them like dead eyes. Their footsteps echoed strangely in the artificial atmosphere, and Jiwon felt the hair on her neck rising for no reason she could explain. "Captain, look at this," called Engineer Sunho Yu from outside the main cafeteria. Through the transparent, aluminum windows, they could see tables still set for meals, food halfway consumed, drinks still sitting in their containers. It looked like everyone had simply vanished in the middle of eating. Inside the administrative building, they found the same eerie scene. Computer terminals still glowed with active work sessions, personal items scattered on desks, half-written reports frozen on screens. In the residential quarters, beds were unmade, and clothes lay scattered as if people had been getting dressed when something happened. 3,000 people don't just disappear," muttered Dr. Yoonji-ko, the ship's medical officer, as she examined a child's bedroom. Toys lay scattered on the floor, and a storybook sat open on the bed. There should be bodies or signs of struggle or evacuation notices. Jiwon activated her emergency communicator and sent a message to Colonial Administrator Hyun-woo Kim on New Busan, the nearest agricultural world. If something had happened here, other colonies needed to know. The message would take 6 hours to reach New Busan through the quantum relay network, but it was the fastest way to spread the alarm. They spent 2 more hours searching the colony, finding nothing but empty buildings and the growing certainty that something terrible had occurred. The mining equipment showed no signs of damage. The power grid functioned normally, and the colony's defensive systems reported no intrusions or attacks. 3,000 people had simply vanished without explanation. On New Busan, Administrator Hyun-woo Kim received Jiwon's message while reviewing harvest reports in his office. The agricultural world fed 17 other colonies, and crop yields were his constant concern. The message from the Steel Phoenix made him stop reading and call up the colony status board on his main screen. Kepler 442b showed green across all systems. Power, life support, communications, and defensive networks all reported normal operation. But if Captain Park was right, the colony was empty despite functioning perfectly. Hyun-woo had never seen anything like it in 20 years of colonial administration. He was still puzzling over the situation when his aide rushed into the office with more disturbing news. 3 other mining colonies had gone silent in the past week, their automated systems still functioning but no human responses to communication attempts. The pattern was spreading across human space, and nobody understood what was happening. Hyunwoo immediately ordered the evacuation of the outer settlements on New Busan, bringing isolated farming families into the main population centers. If something was targeting human colonies, scattered settlements would be the most vulnerable. The evacuation order went out across the planet's communication network, and within hours, thousands of families were abandoning homes and farms they had built over decades. Meanwhile, on Earth's lunar research station, Dr. So-Young Lee worked late into the night analyzing samples from the abandoned colonies. The Colonial Authority had sent her everything they could gather: dust samples, air filters, pieces of equipment that might contain traces of whatever had caused the disappearances. Her laboratory was the most advanced xenobiology facility outside of Earth itself, equipped to detect even microscopic alien organisms. The samples told a strange story. Trace amounts of unknown organic compounds appeared throughout the abandoned colonies, substances that didn't match any known form of life. The compounds seemed designed to break down quickly, leaving only the faintest chemical signature. Whatever had visited these worlds wanted to minimize the evidence of its presence. More disturbing were the energy readings. Sensitive instruments detected the residue of massive energy discharges, but the patterns didn't match any known human technology. The energy signatures suggested some form of matter transportation system, powerful enough to move large numbers of people instantaneously. Dr. Lee had never seen anything like it in her studies of alien artifacts. She compiled her findings into a report for Earth's Colonial Defense Council, noting that the attacking force possessed technology far beyond human capabilities. The systematic nature of the disappearances suggested intelligence and planning, not random attacks by space pirates or equipment failures. Something was deliberately harvesting human populations from frontier worlds. On the orbital platform above, New Seoul, engineer Minho Choi was performing routine maintenance on the station's communication array when his sensors detected unusual movement in the outer system. Long-range scanners showed multiple objects approaching from beyond the planet's asteroid belt, moving too fast and too purposefully to be natural phenomena. Minho activated the platform's emergency protocols and began recording everything the EIDAR sensors could detect. The approaching objects were massive, larger than any human spacecraft, and they moved with the fluid grace of living things rather than the mechanical precision of constructed vessels. As they drew closer, he could see that their surfaces rippled and shifted like organic skin. The lead vessel was the size of a small city, its hull covered in what looked like scales or armor plates that constantly rearranged themselves. Smaller, craft swarmed around it like insects around a hive, their movements coordinated with an intelligence that made Minho's skin crawl. This was not human technology, and it was not friendly. He managed to transmit 30 seconds of clear footage before the alien ships reached the platform. The transmission cut to static as massive tentacles of energy reached out from the lead vessel, and the orbital platform fell silent. New Seoul's population of 4 million people watched their orbital defenses disappear without explanation, leaving them defenseless against whatever was coming. The pattern was now clear across 17 star systems. Something was systematically harvesting human colonies, starting with the most isolated settlements and working inward toward the core worlds. The attackers possessed technology that could make entire populations vanish without damaging their infrastructure, suggesting a level of advancement that made human resistance seem hopeless. But on Earth, in facilities hidden deep beneath the planet's surface, other humans watched the spreading attacks with grim satisfaction. Everything was proceeding exactly according to plan. Admiral Dongyan Nam stood on the bridge of the battleship Resilient Dawn and watched his fleet approach the research station orbiting Proxima Centauri. 3 months had passed since the first disappearances, and now entire star systems were falling silent. Over 4 million humans had vanished without trace, taken from 17 different worlds by an enemy that struck without warning and left no evidence behind. The research station should have been empty like all the others, its 2,000 scientists and support staff added to the growing list of missing colonists. Instead, the station's emergency beacons were broadcasting a different message. Contact with hostile alien forces. Request immediate military assistance. It was the first time anyone had managed to send a coherent distress call during an attack. Ships maintain defensive formation, Dong-Yun ordered through the fleet communication system. We don't know what we're going to find, but assume the worst. His fleet consisted of 12 warships, the largest military force the Colonial Defense Force could assemble on short notice. Each ship carried plasma cannons and missile systems designed to fight human pirates and rogue colonies, not alien invaders, with unknown capabilities. Dong-Yun hoped it would be enough, but the complete disappearance of orbital defense platforms suggested they were facing technology far beyond human understanding. The research station appeared intact as they approached, its solar collectors still tracking the local star and its communication arrays still broadcasting normally, but long-range sensors detected something else in the area. Massive organic shapes hiding in the shadow of Proxima Centauri's asteroid belt. Too large and too regular to be natural formations. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the station," reported Communications Officer Cheon Kim. "It's Dr. Guangsu Han, the station director." The main screen flickered to life, showing a middle-aged man in a torn laboratory coat. Behind him, emergency lights cast eerie shadows across what looked like the station's main laboratory. Dr. Han's face was pale with exhaustion and fear, but his voice remained steady as he delivered his report. "Admiral Nam, we've been under attack for 6 hours. The aliens call themselves the Vorthak, and they're not here to destroy us. They're here to collect us like specimens for some kind of biological preserve. My linguistics team has been monitoring their communications, and what we've learned is terrifying." The transmission cut to recorded alien communications, streams of complex harmonics that hurt to listen to. Dr. Yunbi Cho, the fleet's senior linguistics expert, worked frantically to run the sounds through her translation computers. The patterns were unlike anything in human databases, suggesting a completely alien form of consciousness. "Admiral, I'm getting partial translations," Dr. Cho reported. "The aliens are discussing harvest quotas and preservation techniques. They're treating humans like a resource to be collected and stored." Dr. Han reappeared on the screen, his expression grim. "We've identified their ships hiding in the asteroid field. They're not constructed like human vessels. They appear to be grown rather than built, with organic hulls that can repair themselves and adapt to different environments. Our weapons had no effect when we tried to fight back." Admiral Dong-Yun felt a chill run down his spine. An enemy that treated humans as collectible specimens was worse than one that simply wanted to destroy them. Death in battle was something a soldier could understand and prepare for, but being harvested like crops was a nightmare beyond imagining. "How many of your people are left?" Dong-Hyun asked. "About 300 in the secured sections," Dr. Han replied. "They took the rest during the first wave of attacks, using some kind of energy field that puts people into stasis before transporting them to their ships. We've managed to stay hidden in the shielded laboratories, but our power won't last much longer." The fleet continued its approach toward the research station, but Dong-Hyun knew they were walking into a trap. The Vorthak had allowed Dr. Han to broadcast his message, which meant they wanted human military forces to come within range of their weapons. This was not a rescue mission, but a carefully planned ambush. "All ships, prepare for combat," Dong-Yun ordered. "Target the largest alien vessel and fire on my command." The Vorthak ships emerged from the asteroid field like predators emerging from tall grass. Up close, they were even more disturbing than the sensor readings had suggested. Their hulls rippled with organic patterns that constantly shifted and changed, making it difficult to track their exact positions. Smaller vessels swarmed around the larger ones in formations that seemed more biological than military. The lead ship was enormous, easily 3 times the size of Admiral Dong-Hyun's flagship. Its surface was covered in what looked like sensory organs constantly twitching and adjusting as they scanned the approaching human fleet. As Dong-Hyun watched, sections of the alien hull opened like flowers, revealing weapon systems that glowed with inner light. "Fire all weapons," Dong-Hyun commanded. The human fleet opened fire with everything they had, plasma bolts and missiles streaking across space toward the alien vessels. The weapons struck their targets but seemed to have little effect. The organic hulls absorbed the energy and quickly began repairing themselves. Worse, the alien ships didn't even bother to return fire immediately, as if the human attack was too insignificant to worry about. Major Tae-hyung-yoon commanded the assault shuttles attached to the fleet, small fast ships designed to board enemy vessels and capture them from within. Against human pirates, the tactic was usually effective, but Tae-hyung had serious doubts about its usefulness against alien technology. Still, orders were orders, and someone had to get close enough to learn how the Vorthak ships functioned. "Assault Team Alpha, prepare for boarding action," Tae-hyung announced to his squadron. "We're going to cut our way into that big ship and see what's inside." His shuttle, the Cutting Edge, accelerated toward the lead Vorthak vessel, while the main fleet continued its futile bombardment. The alien ship's defensive system seemed designed to stop large weapons rather than small craft, allowing the shuttle to approach the hull without being destroyed. Tae-hyung activated his ship's cutting laser and began burning through the organic armor. The hull material resisted cutting but eventually gave way, revealing an interior unlike anything in human experience. Instead of metal corridors and manufactured components, the inside of the Vorthak ship looked like the interior of a massive living creature. Walls pulsed with circulatory systems, and the air itself seemed alive with microscopic organisms. Tae-hyung and his boarding team moved carefully through the organic corridors, following life signs detected by their sensors. The ship's interior was vast, with chambers large enough to hold entire buildings connected by passages that constantly shifted and changed. It was like exploring the inside of a living organism rather than a constructed vessel. They found the human prisoners in a vast chamber filled with stasis pods, thousands of transparent containers holding people from the missing colonies. The prisoners were alive but unconscious, their minds connected to neural networks that constantly monitored their thoughts and experiences. It was a horrifying sight, humans being kept like livestock for unknown purposes. "This is insane," whispered Sergeant Bok-young Park, one of Tae-hyung's team members. "They're not just collecting us, they're studying us like laboratory animals." Tae-hyung activated his emergency communicator and transmitted everything he was seeing back to Admiral Dong-hyun. The human fleet needed to know what they were really fighting, even if the knowledge made their situation seem hopeless. The Vorthak weren't conquerors in any conventional sense. They were collectors maintaining a biological museum of intelligent species. As they explored deeper into the ship, they encountered their first living Vorthak. The creature was unlike anything from human imagination, a flowing mass of tentacles and sensory organs that seemed to shift between solid and liquid states. It communicated through harmonic patterns that caused physical pain in human ears, but Dr. Cho's translation computers managed to provide a rough understanding of its words. "Young species, your resistance is noted but irrelevant," the creature said through the translation system. "We have collected 47 intelligent species across this galaxy, each believing itself unique and powerful. All now rest in preservation, within our bioreserves, their knowledge and experiences maintained for eternity." The Vorthak commander, speaking through a captured human scientist, continued its monologue. "Your species shows interesting adaptability and emotional complexity, qualities that will make excellent additions to our collection. We have studied your expansion patterns for over a century, learning your weaknesses and capabilities. Surrender now, and the collection process will be painless." Major Tae-hyung realized with growing horror that humanity was not the first species to face the Vorthak. The aliens had been doing this for thousands of years, systematically harvesting intelligent life from across the galaxy. Dozens of civilizations that might have become friends and allies had been reduced to specimens in alien preservation chambers. "How many species have you destroyed?" Tae-hyung asked. "Destroyed?" The Vorthak seemed confused by the concept. "We preserve, not destroy. The Zephyrians still compose beautiful music in their bioreserve." President Ji-hoon Kang stood before the emergency session of the Human Colonial Congress on Mars, watching representatives from 17 star systems argue about humanity's response to the Vorthak ultimatum. 2 weeks had passed since Admiral Dongyun's encounter with the alien collectors, and panic was spreading through human space faster than any military response could be organized. "We should evacuate the outer colonies immediately," insisted Representative Unichoi from the Tau Ceti system. "My people are sitting targets for these creatures. Give us ships and we'll run beyond the edge of mapped space where they can't follow." General Sunmi Park disagreed strongly, her weathered face showing the strain of impossible choices. "Running won't work. The Vorthak have been studying us for over a century. They know where every human settlement is located. We need to fight, even if our weapons are less advanced than theirs." The debate continued without resolution, 17 different colonies proposing 17 different strategies for survival. Some wanted to negotiate with the Vorthak, others demanded immediate military action, and a few suggested surrender to minimize the suffering of collection. None of the plans seemed likely to succeed against an enemy that had already defeated dozens of other species. President Ji-hoon felt the weight of 6 billion colonial lives pressing down on him as he listened to the desperate arguments. The colonial Congress represented humanity's greatest achievement: peaceful cooperation between worlds separated by vast distances, but it was proving inadequate for coordinating resistance against an existential threat. "What about Earth?" asked Representative Kyu Hyun-oh from New Singapore. "They haven't responded to any of our communications since the crisis began. Surely the homeworld has resources and technology that could help us." The question hung in the air like an accusation. Earth had gone completely silent 3 weeks ago, refusing all attempts at communication from the colonial worlds. Military messages, diplomatic requests, even personal communications to families on the homeworld received no response. It was as if humanity's birthplace had simply decided to ignore the greatest crisis in human history. "Earth's communication silence is troubling but irrelevant," General Park replied. "We can't wait for help that may never come. The colonial defense forces must stand together or fall separately." Unknown to the arguing representatives, Captain Bo Young-ha was already approaching Earth aboard the stealth scout ship Silent Arrow. She had volunteered for what everyone assumed was a suicide mission, penetrating whatever defenses were keeping Earth isolated and discovering why the homeworld remained silent during humanity's darkest hour. The Silent Arrow was the most advanced vessel in the colonial fleet, equipped with experimental stealth systems and sensors designed for deep reconnaissance missions. If any ship could reach Earth undetected, it would be hers. But as Boyoung approached the solar system's outer edge, her sensors began detecting impossible readings. The space around Earth was filled with massive artificial structures, completely invisible to standard detection systems. Only the Silent Arrow's experimental sensors could reveal the hidden installations: weapons platforms the size of asteroids, manufacturing complexes that dwarfed any colonial facility, and defensive networks that turned the entire solar system into an impregnable fortress. "This is impossible," Boyoung whispered as she reviewed the sensor data. "These installations would have taken centuries to build. How did Earth hide construction on this scale from the colonial worlds?" Her ship's computer began identifying the artificial structures, cataloging defensive systems and industrial facilities that suggested a level of technological advancement far beyond anything the colonies possessed. Earth wasn't just hiding. It had been preparing for war on a scale that made the colonial defense forces look like children playing with toys. The Silent Arrow continued its approach toward Earth, somehow passing through defensive screens that should have detected and destroyed it instantly. Boyoung began to suspect that her ship was being allowed to proceed, that Earth's defenses had identified her as friendly and were permitting her passage for reasons she didn't understand. Earth itself had been transformed beyond recognition. The planet's surface was covered with installations that hadn't existed when the last colonial ship had departed 50 years ago. Artificial continents floated in the oceans, massive structures that served unknown purposes. The moon had been converted into what looked like a single enormous weapon, its surface bristling with energy projectors that could destroy entire fleets. As Boyoung brought her ship down toward Earth's surface, she was met by an escort of vessels, unlike anything in colonial databases. The ships were sleek and deadly, incorporating design elements that seemed almost alien in their sophistication. They guided the Silent Arrow to a landing facility hidden beneath what had once been the Sahara Desert. Dr. Jamin So was waiting for her when she emerged from her ship, a man who looked like any other Earth scientist but carried himself with the confidence of someone accustomed to wielding enormous power. His smile was friendly, but his eyes held secrets that Bo-young wasn't sure she wanted to learn. "Captain Ha, welcome to Earth," Dr. So said as he led her through corridors carved from living rock. "I apologize for the dramatic secrecy, but your arrival marks the beginning of the final phase of a plan that has been 3 centuries in development." The underground facility was vast, stretching for kilometers in all directions and filled with technology that made colonial equipment look primitive. Humans worked alongside machines that seemed to blend organic and mechanical elements in ways that reminded Bo-young uncomfortably of the Vorthak ships described in Admiral Dong-hyun's reports. "What happened to Earth?" Bo-young asked. "Where is everyone?" "The colonies think you've abandoned them." Dr. So's expression became serious as he activated a holographic display showing the solar system's hidden defenses. "Earth's population hasn't abandoned the colonies, Captain. We've been preparing to defend them. Every human who has lived on Earth for the past 300 years has been trained for the war that is coming." The hologram zoomed in on Earth's surface, revealing massive underground cities that housed billions of people. These weren't the sprawling metropolises that Bo-young remembered from her childhood visits to Earth, but purposeful military installations where every citizen was a soldier, in training for a war most of them had never expected to fight. 300 years ago, when humanity first detected the ancient ruins on Mars, we learned that we were not alone in the galaxy. Dr. So explained. The ruins contained evidence of dozens of advanced civilizations that had simply vanished without explanation. Our scientists realized that something was systematically eliminating intelligent species, and Earth began preparing for the inevitable contact. Bo-young felt her understanding of human history collapsing as Dr. So continued his explanation. Every colonial expedition, every exploration mission, every peaceful settlement had been part of an elaborate deception designed to hide Earth's true activities. The colonies weren't humanity's greatest achievement. They were bait in a trap that had been centuries in the making. The colonial expansion served 2 purposes, Dr. So said. First, it spread humanity across multiple star systems so that the species could survive even if Earth was destroyed. Second, it provided early warning when the harvesters finally arrived. We've been tracking species like the Vorthak for over 2 centuries, learning their methods and capabilities. The holographic display showed records of other alien species that had been secretly contacted and studied by Earth's hidden agents. The galaxy was full of predator races that harvested younger civilizations, but it was also full of species that had learned to hide and survive. Earth had been building alliances and gathering intelligence while the colonies believed they were alone. Every colonial ship that left Earth carried more than just settlers, Dr. So continued. Hidden among the passengers were intelligence agents, military specialists and scientists whose real mission was to establish monitoring networks and prepare defensive positions. The colonies were never as helpless as they appeared. Bo-young began to understand the scope of Earth's deception as Dr. So showed her manufacturing facilities that had been producing advanced weapons for decades. The colonial defense forces had been equipped with deliberately limited technology to maintain the illusion of human weakness, while Earth's real military forces possessed capabilities that rivaled any alien technology. The underground cities house over 8 billion people, Dr. So explained. Every one of them has been trained for this war since childhood. They've studied alien biology, mastered advanced weapons systems, and practiced tactics designed specifically to counter harvester species like the Vorthak. The hologram displayed training facilities where humans practiced combat in simulated alien environments. Soldiers wearing armor that seemed to blend organic and mechanical elements fought against holographic representations of Vorthak forces, using weapons and tactics that turned the aliens' own biology against them. We've been infiltrating Vorthak bio-networks for decades, Dr. So said. Their reliance on organic technology makes them vulnerable to biological warfare techniques that we've been developing since first contact with their scouts. Fleet Admiral Kyungmin Lee emerged from the hidden shipyards beneath Earth's Pacific Ocean, aboard the dreadnought Eternal Guardian, leading a fleet that no colonial observer had ever imagined could exist. The massive warships were unlike anything. In colonial databases, their hulls incorporating biotechnology reverse-engineered from a dozen extinct species, and their weapon systems designed specifically to counter Vorthak collection methods. The Vorthak had been massing their harvest fleet in the outer reaches of human space. Confident that their ultimatum had paralyzed human resistance, their bioships gathered like predators preparing for a feeding frenzy. Enormous organic vessels carrying the stasis pods and neural networks needed to process entire planetary populations. They expected to face the same primitive resistance they had encountered from dozens of other species. Commander Wonho Bay stood in the briefing room of his assault ship, watching final preparations for humanity's real military response. Around him, soldiers prepared equipment that would have seemed impossible to colonial observers. Powered armor that incorporated alien biotechnology, weapons that could disrupt organic hulls on a molecular level, and neural interfaces that allowed human operators to hack directly into Vorthak bionetworks. Remember, the enemy thinks we're primitives with crude plasma weapons and simple tactics. Wonho addressed his enhanced troops. They've never faced humans who are actually trying to kill them. Today we show them what 300 years of preparation can accomplish. His soldiers were not the desperate colonial defenders that the Vorthak expected to encounter. Every one of them had been born and raised in Earth's underground military cities, trained from childhood to fight alien harvesters using tactics developed through centuries of study and preparation. They had practiced combat against captured Vorthak bioforms and knew exactly how to exploit the aliens' reliance on organic technology. The enhanced troops wore armor that seemed to blend human engineering with alien biotechnology, creating systems that could interface directly with Vorthak neural networks. Their weapons fired projectiles designed to disrupt organic molecular structures, causing Vorthak bioships to literally dissolve from within. Most importantly, they carried viruses and bioweapons specifically engineered to turn the aliens' own biology against them. Dr. Youngmi Lim worked frantically in her laboratory aboard the fleet flagship, making final adjustments to the biological warfare systems that would be deployed against the Vorthak fleet. Her team had spent decades developing viral agents that could infiltrate alien bionetworks and reprogram them to serve human purposes instead of their original functions. The beauty of biological warfare against the Vorthak is that their entire civilization depends on organic technology, Dr. Lim explained to her assistants. Their ships, their weapons, even their communication systems are all living organisms that can be infected and converted. We're not just going to defeat them, we're going to turn their own tools against them. The viral agents her team had developed were works of art in biological engineering, designed to spread through Vorthak bionetworks faster than the aliens could implement defensive countermeasures. Once infected, Vorthak ships would begin attacking each other instead of human targets. Their organic hulls would reject their alien occupants, and their neural networks would broadcast human commands instead of alien orders. Agent Chanwu Go was already in position deep within Vorthak space, having infiltrated their biopreserve network months earlier using technology that masked his human biological signature. His mission was to trigger simultaneous uprisings among the dozens of species held in Vorthak preservation chambers, turning the aliens' own collection against them when the battle began. The Vorthak preserve worlds were nightmarish places where entire civilizations existed in artificial environments designed to maintain their cultures while preventing any possibility of escape or rebellion. The crystalline minds composed mathematical symphonies in chambers of living crystal. The Zephyrians created art from solidified atmosphere, and the Hive Collective organized perfect societies within their biomechanical cells. Species of the Preserve Network, today you have the chance to reclaim your freedom. Chanwu broadcast through hidden transmitters he had placed throughout the facility. The humans have come to break your chains, but you must be ready to fight for your liberation. The preserved species had never given up hope of eventual freedom, secretly maintaining their military knowledge and tactical abilities despite centuries of captivity. When Chanwu's signal reached them, they began implementing escape plans that had been passed down through generations of prisoners, using weapons and equipment that Earth's agents had been smuggling into the preserve network for decades. The Vorthak Harvest Fleet consisted of over 200 bioships, ranging from massive collection vessels capable of processing entire planets to smaller scout ships designed for precision harvesting of isolated settlements. Their formation approached human space with the confidence of predators who had never encountered serious resistance, expecting to begin collection operations within days. Fleet Admiral Kyungmin watched the alien approach through sensors that revealed far more than the Vorthak suspected. Earth's monitoring network had been tracking the Harvest Fleet since it first assembled, cataloging individual ships and identifying weak points in their organic armor. Every vessel in the alien fleet had been studied and targeted before the battle even began. All ships implement Protocol 7, Admiral Kyungmin commanded. Begin deployment of biological warfare packages. Earth's fleet launched thousands of missiles toward the Vorthak formation. But these weren't the crude explosive warheads that colonial forces had used against the aliens. Each missile carried a payload of engineered organisms designed to penetrate Vorthak biohulls and begin converting their organic technology from within. The aliens' own defensive systems helped spread the infection by attempting to analyze and counter the biological agents. Commander Wonho led the first wave of boarding actions against Vorthak vessels, his enhanced troops using personal teleportation, devices reverse-engineered from alien technology. The Vorthak had never faced enemies who could appear directly inside their ships, bypassing their organic defenses and striking at critical systems from within. The alien bioships began malfunctioning, almost immediately as Earth's viral agents spread through their neural networks. Vorthak crews found their own vessels turning against them, organic hulls sealing them into compartments while human-controlled systems began venting atmosphere and disrupting life support. The aliens had designed their ships to be perfect prisons for collected species, never imagining that those same systems could be turned against their creators. Target the command vessel, Admiral Kyungmin ordered as his fleet pressed its advantage. If we can capture their fleet coordination systems, we can turn their entire armada against their preserve worlds. The lead Vorthak bioship was a massive organism the size of a small moon, its hull covered in sensory organs and neural clusters that coordinated the activities of the entire Harvest Fleet. Earth's forces had identified it as the key to the Vorthak command structure, and destroying or capturing it would paralyze the aliens' ability to coordinate their collection operations. Colonel Su Yan-o commanded the assault team that penetrated the Vorthak command vessel, using weapons that fired living organisms designed to interface with alien biotechnology. Her soldiers moved through the ship's organic corridors like antibodies attacking an infection, systematically taking control of critical systems and converting them to serve human purposes. The Neural Command Center is heavily defended, Colonel O reported to Fleet Command. But our bioweapons are working faster than their defenses can adapt. Give us 10 more minutes and we'll have control of their entire communication network. The Vorthak fleet found itself fighting an enemy unlike any they had encountered in thousands of years of harvesting. Instead of primitive weapons and desperate tactics, they faced biological warfare systems that turned their own technology against them, and human soldiers who seemed to understand their weaknesses better than they understood themselves. Dr. Lim's viral agents had spread throughout the Vorthak fleet, converting organic hull material into human-controlled biotechnology and reprogramming alien neural networks to broadcast Earth's commands. Vorthak ships began attacking each other as their corrupted control systems identified fellow vessels as enemy targets, creating chaos throughout the alien formation. "This is impossible," transmitted the Vorthak fleet commander through translation. "Systems that were rapidly being corrupted by human bioviruses. No species has ever possessed the knowledge to counter our collection methods. How did primitive humans develop such sophisticated biological warfare capabilities?" The answer came from Agent Chanwoo's position deep within the preserve network, where dozens of previously extinct species were breaking free from their containment systems, using weapons and equipment that Earth had been secretly providing for decades. The Vorthak had unknowingly created the perfect intelligence network for studying their own weaknesses by preserving the military knowledge of every species they had collected. "The humans learned from us." Diplomat Seolgi Han stood before the assembled Galactic Council in the Great Chamber, orbiting the neutral world of Kepler 452c. facing representatives of 47 different species that humanity had been secretly protecting for centuries. The massive crystalline amphitheater had been built by the architects, an ancient race that had vanished long before humans left Earth. But it had served as a meeting place for surviving civilizations throughout this arm of the galaxy. Honored representatives, I come before you today to reveal a truth that my species has hidden for over 400 years. Seulgi began, her words translated simultaneously into dozens of different languages and communication methods. Earth has not been the primitive world you believed us to be. We have been your guardians, protecting your civilizations from threats you never knew existed. The reaction was immediate and chaotic. The Zephyrian delegate's atmospheric form flickered with disbelief. The crystalline mind's geometric representative reconfigured itself into patterns of confusion, and the Hive Collective's speaker buzzed with agitation. None of them had suspected that the seemingly backward humans possessed the technology and knowledge to operate as galactic protectors. Dr. Gunwoo Park activated the chamber's holographic display system, showing detailed records of humanity's hidden activities throughout the galaxy. Star charts appeared showing the locations of eliminated predator species, tactical reports from battles fought in the shadows, and evidence of Earth's systematic campaign to protect developing civilizations from harvester races like the Vorthak. Yawir, Scourge of Andromeda, which your histories record as dying from internal conflicts 2 centuries ago, was actually eliminated by human black operations teams, Dr. Park explained. The void hunters that threatened the Tau sector simply vanished because Earth's fleet destroyed their breeding worlds before they could spread. The neural parasites that once consumed the thoughts of entire species were wiped out by biological weapons that we developed specifically for that purpose. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. For centuries, while Earth maintained the appearance of a primitive world with limited space travel, human agents had been operating throughout the galaxy with technology that rivaled or exceeded anything possessed by the Council species. Every time a predator species emerged to threaten younger civilizations, Earth's forces appeared to eliminate the threat before it could spread. Ambassador Kyung-Soo Yu of the Quantum Collective rose to address the assembly, his energy form pulsing with questions that hurt to perceive directly. If humanity possessed such capabilities, why did you hide your activities from us? We could have worked together to protect the galaxy more effectively. Seulgi's expression became somber as she prepared to reveal the darker aspects of Earth's galactic activities. Because cooperation would have been impossible once you learned the full truth about our origins and our methods. Earth was not chosen by accident to serve as this galaxy's protector. We inherited the responsibility from a species that recognized our potential for the task. The holographic display shifted to show archaeological evidence from humanity's early exploration of the solar system. Ancient ruins on Mars, crystalline structures on Europa, and buried installations on Earth's moon told the story of a previous galactic guardian that had monitored this region of space for millions of years before humanity evolved. The Antarans were the previous guardians of this galactic sector, Dr. Park continued. They maintained order and protected younger species for over 2 million years before their civilization finally ended. But before they died, they prepared Earth to inherit their role, seeding our planet with knowledge and technology that would be activated when we reached sufficient development. Captain Min-Soo Yu, representing Earth's Guardian Corps, provided tactical details that made the assembled representatives uncomfortable. Our methods are not always peaceful or diplomatic. We have eliminated 17 different predator species over the past 4 centuries, usually by destroying their homeworlds and ensuring that none of their population survives to threaten other species. The chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. Earth had not just been protecting the galaxy's peaceful species, it had been conducting genocide on a massive scale, systematically wiping out entire civilizations that posed threats to others. The humans were not benevolent guardians, but ruthless exterminators who decided which species deserved to survive. The harvest wars of the Outer Rim, which your histories record as a natural disaster, were actually our campaign against a coalition of harvester species. Captain Yu continued relentlessly. We used biological weapons to sterilize 43 different worlds. ensuring that no trace of predator DNA survived to evolve again. Our policy is simple. Species that prey upon others are eliminated completely and permanently. The Zephyrian delegate's atmospheric form began to dissipate with fear. You speak of destroying entire species as if you were discussing pest control. How many civilizations have you erased from existence? Silgi answered without hesitation or apology. 17 confirmed predator species eliminated, with another 6 currently under investigation for elimination. Our estimates suggest that these actions have prevented the deaths of over 3 trillion intelligent beings across 47 different species. The mathematics of guardian duty are harsh but clear. Better that predator species die than that they be allowed to consume countless innocents. The assembled representatives struggled to process the revelation that their peaceful galaxy was actually maintained through systematic extermination campaigns conducted by human forces.
Many of the species present owed their very existence to Earth's willingness to commit acts of genocide against their potential destroyers, but none of them had been informed or consulted about these activities. Dr. Park continued his presentation.
With evidence of Earth's ongoing monitoring and intervention activities, our intelligence networks have identified 12 additional predator species in neighboring galactic sectors that will eventually threaten this region if left unchecked. Guardian Corps fleets are already positioning for elimination campaigns that will prevent these threats from ever reaching our protected species. The revelation that Earth maintained military forces capable of conducting interstellar genocide campaigns shocked even the most advanced Council species. The crystalline minds had always considered humans to be a young and primitive civilization, never suspecting that Earth's apparently limited technology was merely camouflage for capabilities that exceeded their own by orders of magnitude. Our colonial expansion was not exploration but reconnaissance, Captain Yu explained. Every human settlement established monitoring stations and defensive positions designed to intercept threats before they could reach the Council worlds. The colonists themselves were usually unaware of their real purpose, believing they were pioneers and farmers when they were actually serving as an early warning network. Ambassador Yu asked the question that every representative was thinking. If your species has been conducting these activities for centuries, why reveal the truth now? What has changed that requires us to know about Earth's guardian role? Silgi's answer chilled the assembled delegates. Because we are preparing to expand our guardian activities beyond this galactic sector. Our deep space monitoring stations have detected predator species in the Magellanic Clouds that will eventually threaten this galaxy if they are not eliminated first. The Guardian Corps is preparing for campaigns that will require resources from every species in this sector. The implication was clear. Earth was not asking for permission or cooperation in its expanded genocide campaigns. It was informing the Council species that they would be expected to provide support for humanity's wars against distant civilizations. The peaceful galaxy that the Council members enjoyed was about to become a military staging area for human expansion into other galactic regions. The void devourers of the large Magellanic Cloud consume entire star systems to fuel their expansion. Dr. Park showed images of stellar regions that had been stripped of all matter and energy. Our projections indicate they will reach this galaxy in approximately 50,000 years. Guardian protocols require their elimination before they develop. Interstellar transportation capabilities. President Ji-Hoon Kang made the final announcement that transformed humanity's relationship with the galactic community forever. The age of hidden guardianship is ending. Earth officially assumes the role of sector protector, with all the authority and responsibility that position entails. The Guardian Corps will be expanding recruitment to include volunteers from all Council species who meet our psychological and physical requirements. The offer was both an invitation and a subtle threat. Species that cooperated with Earth's guardian activities would be protected and allowed to maintain their independence. Species that opposed humanity's role as galactic protector would be classified as potential threats and dealt with accordingly. The choice was cooperation or elimination, with no middle ground available. Young recruit Daeun Kim stood in the Guardian Corps training facility beneath Seoul, watching new volunteers from dozens of different species learn to use weapons designed for interstellar genocide campaigns.